Welcome, Chad. If nothing else, you got a bottle of water out of the deal. First thing that I want to say is keep in mind it's not always the people you're most expecting, or maybe in your case not expecting, but think you might hear from. I have two people coming through. This can change on a dime that somebody else could move in. I have to talk about an older male coming through, alcohol issue or alcohol reference. Man was an alcoholic is what I'm getting. And I feel like typically I might be 2 generations above. So to me, like a grandfather connection, great uncle, but it's at that level. And the second person I have is not talking at all, but there's a connection to like a baby girl that's passed. So just know that there's like a pregnancy, stillbirth, or abortion that they're acknowledging, that the child is safe and the child is over there, and it's like infant baby, okay? So just think about that. I know that's kind of vague. There's too many things happening here. It's jumping all around. It wasn't like that in the first two. There's a lot of energy coming through. Just a male connection coming up talking about this. I feel like I'm in a basement for some reason, and I don't know why. I feel like they would be found in the basement. And it feels like a contemporary, meaning a person to your side or your generation that keeps coming up. Because I'm getting confused, but I literally feel like 2 males are coming through, besides whatever the baby girl reference was. And I feel like there's something about in the basement or being found in the basement that they're bringing up. Okay. You're probably not prepared for this, especially if you weren't a believer. You couldn't have altered or changed the outcome of that death. So the fact that you take on responsibility is so absurd. It's more personal and emotional and heart-ripping for you, but it's not got anything to do with the fact that you technically, timeline-wise, physically could have altered or changed the outcome. But you are very hard on yourself about this. And you do this, what if, what if, what if, I should have known, I should have been there for. I want to tell you unequivocally, whether you understand it, whether you believe it or not, this person coming through makes me feel like you were more than there for them. They weren't there for themselves. That's what was missing. I feel like I had the help. I feel like there was enough love around me that wanted to help me. I wasn't present in my own body. My mind was not there. And that's the way that he keeps saying this, okay? I have one more close call to the person in front of you, before you, and he didn't get it. But I'm seeing a close call with you, but it's in a different way. His was health related. What I need to say to you is, I don't know if you wrote off the car or what they're talking about here, but they're showing me like a close call that would be impact-wise, and I don't feel like you're hurt. So it's not like I was like clinging to death or clinging to life, but it's like, holy shit, that could have went another way. And it was like one more thing tied to this or connected to this, and I could be off, but is there any reason why I would see the color red or the version of red or burgundy tied or connected to this? Either the color of the car or something about what I would be seeing connected to this, why they would bring up the red or the burgundy. It's not blood either.
No.
Okay, I don't know why, but I keep seeing red, burgundy, plum, that kind of color that would be connected to this. I just don't know why, but I feel like it's attributed to the car, the vehicle, whatever this is. Why? And I'm seeing Mr. Suicide Guy say it. So for some reason, there's something that would be hunting based or checked. Because I'm seeing something that would be swollen or like a growth, and I don't mean like a goiter, where it's like your Siamese twin never separated. I just feel like there could be something that could be swollen or like a mole or something that I would see raised from the skin, and I don't know if it's discolored or not, but I would just say you don't leave this unchecked, okay? Be honest. The only thing I've asked for is honesty today.
You're on a nerve now.
I'm on a nerve. I'm hitting a nerve. You sound like my wife.
That wasn't in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I know. I get that. I like to think my wife doesn't think it's bad. You get this checked. You follow up on this. You do what needs to be done. Don't go out here today, plan your funeral, and buy a coffin, because that's how your mind works. I'm not saying it's a death thing at all. I'm saying you just don't ignore it. Because you're at a stage now where it may be nothing, You're at an age where maybe health-wise it's not going to be an issue, but a decade from now could be a world of difference, and you don't want to ignore it. So you treat it, you follow up on it, you deal with it now. Or resentful at some degree, so just be communicative right from the start. He's like, he slapped you in the chest, right across your left chest. Right across there, he just slapped you in the left chest, and he said, smarten up. You make things hard on yourself with her. Pull back a bit and be communicative. Not a big deal. And what's going on with your car that you're not fixing? It's like, you're like, oh, it's fine. It's running, it starts. Tick, 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 tick. It's like, it's not going to last. So he's like, get it fixed. Get it fixed. Spend the money, don't be cheap. Yeah, based on your eyes, that was a yes, you understand?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you know that I Google searched you? I didn't have your name or anything, but I Google searched and I found out you had car problems. They just warned me that was ego. So, can I just say to you that, buddy, I don't care, friend, brother, cousin, whoever, brother-in-law, whoever this person would have been, this connection of the suicide, you might have done this already, but I'm going to word it in the way that he would like you to do this. And you're not going to be opposed to this, trust me. He'd like you to have a beer with him, for him, and you could have it by a tree or out in the bush, and he'll be there with you, and he'll know it, and he'll be there with you. Okay? So whether you've done that already, it's like, well, here's an excuse, you got to go ahead to do it again. But know that he'll be present with you. And he's like, bring two. Even though I can't drink it, you can have it. Okay? That's what he's saying. And do you need a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Kleenex right next to you, Chad. And don't feel bad for this either. Don't feel bad because of your emotions. You need it, so let them out. For my own validation, not that I need it because I've already said it. Have you done the 2-beer thing before or something? Okay, well you need to do it again. There's no rush. You don't do it today. But when the time's right this fall, when it's a nice fall day, whatever, go do it. Don't drive afterwards though. I work for MAD, so don't drive afterwards. He's just vulgar. Who's Donkey Dick? What would that mean? Do you know? I don't need to know. Do you know why he would make reference to Donkey Dick?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Out of all the people that come through in a day, I love somebody like his personality. It's the most fun for me because I get to swear, I get to be crude, I get to be mean. And it's probably the personality that's most aligned with me, but he is funny. And the one thing I swear to God I want you to take away from this chat is not, wow, is this guy good, or wow, this guy can hear the dead. I want you to take away from this, in all honesty, wow, my brother, my friend is alive. He just doesn't have a body. He sees, he hears, he's around me, he's still with us, he's still connected. That is the one thing you need to walk out of this room with today. Not about me, not about the research, just that I didn't lose him. I'm not here, I can't hug him, I can't punch him, I can't kick him in the crotch, I can't do any of that. I can't go out and have a beer with him. But really I can. It's just, you have to have the faith and the belief that he's there, because he is. And I think, you know, it'll make my heart happy if out of the 3 of you, one is converted. I'll be honest, but that was never my goal. But if you can walk out of here with a little bounce in your step and a little difference where the door is cracked open to the possibility that maybe there is something after this, and even more than that, maybe there's the odd person out there that can actually hear them or see them and connect with them. That would be beautiful. But whatever comes, just know that your loved ones, family, non-family members, are around you, and even the ones you don't hear from today. He's such bizarre in his communications now, because this is going to be very cryptic. Okay, what's pickles? Why would he like show me the pickle and say pickles?
Can I go outside? Not really. Can I go outside?
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, we can call it a day if you're.
I have to, really.
You need to come back in though after, okay?
I promise I will.
Unlock the door.
So I just want you to know that. So you're okay with going
Yeah,
on?
I'm good.
Okay.
I don't know how much more will come because he's kind of hammered home what I think he needed to, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the pickles?
What's that?
Can you go back to the pickles? You can tell your
I'll do anything. I just don't know if the dead person will.
Okay.
I can't make them. So Chad, we've had a request to go back to pickles for some reason. Do you want to clarify? Is he okay to clarify now, or do you just want me to? It's up to
I
you.
can clarify it if you want. Yeah.
Why did pickles so move you?
This person was beyond obsessed with pickles. I bought him a jar of pickles every week. A big jar. And I used to come to him and say, how the hell are you eating these goddamn things all week? Like, and he, pickle barrel, restaurants, like.
Anything pickle related?
Yeah.
Okay. So if there was one simple word that he could have used to validate for you that this meathead in Alliston's picking up on something, it would be pickles?
The fact that his nickname was Meathead is pretty freaky.
I'm not even recording. Oh yeah, I am recording. So is his nickname's Meathead?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't, honest to God, know how much more he's going to say, and I'm not trying to bail out early on you. But the one thing I am going to say is he's got a great sense of humor. I know I've said that over and over. It continues. He is thrilled to be able to do this for you today, Chad. He's thrilled that you were open to it. Whether you believed or didn't, he doesn't care. You presented yourself, you gave yourself the opportunity to have this experience. What you do with it is up to you. He's laughing. Go away from here, and you're going to do a lot of soul searching, he's telling me, where you're going to be like, how the fuck did he get that stuff? How could he have known? And you can go through everything scientifically, but at some level you're going to have to boil it down that maybe your friend was here talking. Even if that's a 10% viability for you, you have to give yourself the room, give yourself the time to analyze, is there any way I could have done it, and come to your own conclusions, because at the end of the day, it's not about the research and it's not about me. It's about your frame of mind, your frame of reference, and I have no qualms in telling you, because he just keeps nodding, this reading was life-changing for you. And for that, I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad. And out of all the people that could have made it life-changing for you, it's not an accident it was him.
All right, so Chris Stillar, I wanted to interview you from the moment I saw you giving a reading. I stumbled across you on YouTube, and I loved your style, your humor, and your certainty, I would have to say. How long have you been Go?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll thank you for the compliment.
So you, I'd like you to tell me a little bit about yourself before we start officially with questions.
Okay. I'm not sure what you want to know. I'm 46 years old, soon to be 47 in a week's time. And I've been practicing medium since 1996. And I went full-time with it in 2003, and I've never looked back. Things have just really exploded the last few years.
Yes, I can imagine, because you do seem to have such a way with people. That's a big part of your job, I'm sure.
It is, and I've heard people say that. I genuinely like people, and I love what I do, and I'm very passionate about it. But I think in a lot of ways what makes me successful with what I do as a medium is that I have balance in my life with a great wife. We're celebrating 25 years next Tuesday.
Congratulations.
So a week tomorrow. Thanks. And I have 4 incredible kids that are grown, and I've always had balance in my life, so it's worked. And I always say mediumship is what I do, but it's not who I am.
Uh-huh. And how have your family coped with you and your abilities to connect with the spirit of people?
Well, it depends which family members we would be talking about, but my wife has always been probably honestly my greatest supporter, never doubted me when it started, and totally believed me. She was a little scared of where it would lead me.
Uh-huh.
I was kind of secretive about it in the first few months until I kind of understood what it was. My kids grew up with it, so they're fine with it. I'm just dad, and there's nothing special about it. In fact, they try to avoid the whole topic with their friends and the community. People ask me questions all the time about me, or they'll say, "Is your dad that guy that?" And I know they're proud of me, but they try to avoid it because they also know there are people that have ridiculed me over the years, and they just they
take
they don't want
the
me
bad.
being centered out.
Yes. How old were you when you first started to notice your intuitions so strongly?
Well, it started literally overnight once it started, and it hadn't really shown itself prior. But I was an old man of almost 30.
So, when you say it started overnight, was there any event in your life that changed you or prepared you or traumatized you or anything?
Yeah, and that event, the physical event that I know for a fact was the starting aspect of this, happened 2 years before that time when I talked about being almost 30. So I was 27 years old, and I had a medical issue that I was hospitalized for, but my brain kind of shut down one day out of the blue, almost like I was having some kind of a stroke, but I had no physical symptoms. But my memory loss just went one morning, and I didn't know who my family was, and I didn't know the people around me. And so it was quite scary for them because I was rushed to the hospital, and I got very aggressive with the doctors and the nurses, which wasn't my style or personality. And then I don't remember anything from that day. I just know that I didn't know who my wife, my parents, or my kids were.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I came out of it probably about 2 o'clock the next morning in the hospital, and I was fully back to who I was. But as a result of some of the tests, I had really bad headaches. I was in the hospital for 3 days, and I was having severe headaches. But the first night I was home, I was up in the middle of the night, and I was washing my hands, and I literally felt what felt like, I describe it even in my book, kind of what it must feel like if you were shot in the back of the head, what you might feel for just a split second. But mine came from inside out. So it was almost like there was a gunshot from the inside out, and it just was the most horrendous pain I had ever felt. And I dropped to my knees, and my wife came running into the room where I was, and from that point on, there was never any more pain. But something literally got unlocked in the back of my neck and skull region.
So were you...
So I think...
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, physically, that was something unlocked, whatever that was. But it wasn't until... that was 1994. It wasn't until 1996 when my grandmother died that was when spiritually the door opened, and I think I got my kick in my pants to get moving.
And did you believe that the spirit could be reached before that point, before doing it yourself? Did you have an interest in the afterlife, or?
I really didn't. I didn't know what a medium was.
Really?
I know that, really. I never studied, read up. I didn't have an interest. I really didn't care. I've always had a belief in the afterlife. I always believed there's a God. I don't know what that exactly was or is, but I always had a belief that there was something more to life, but never cared about trying to tap into it. Never thought it was real as far as mediums go. It just wasn't something that interested me. But on August 16th, 1996, when my grandmother died, that changed the equation. And that was life-altering, to say the least. And it was within 2 weeks of her death. I didn't even set out thinking I could do it, nor did I think I would try to do it to contact her. That wasn't the interest. I just meditated one day after reading a book, and some pretty wild things started happening instantly.
Like what?
Like having an Indian standing behind me talking to me, which I had never experienced before. I knew I wasn't crazy, but I sure as heck didn't know what was happening.
And would you think that is one of your guides?
Yes, I know for a fact it is. He still is. His name's Grey Owl.
Oh, beautiful. And when you started to have impressions from people, how did you practice or learn? Did you just give little hints away to people? Were you shy about it? Were you embarrassed, or?
I wasn't embarrassed at all. I didn't know if people would believe me, but I have to say it felt very comfortable for me right from the start. It was not always super clear or audible. Things came in like little images, little segments, small things that I could grasp or understand. And I trusted it enough, and I knew myself enough that I did share the messages. And for the most part, it was always in a friendly environment where it happened with friends or people of friends that I didn't know. So
yes,
it felt right.
And do you have a regular practice of meditation or something to enhance your abilities, or has it just flown irregardless of that sort of thing?
Well, it will work without meditation, but I have to say that I honestly, every day that I work, which, is a lot of the time, every day through the week, and on weekends when I do public speaking engagements, I always meditate at the start of the day before any clients show up, because I do it out of respect. Yeah. I know that spirit can get through to me without me meditating, but I do it as respect, and I feel like I got to meet them halfway. Yeah. And not only that, it just helps me in my own physical life and with my health and my own centering with my family.
Of course, yeah. Meditation's wonderful. So that's all fantastic. And then how did you transition to being the community medium, or the international community medium that you're becoming now?
Well, I probably would be what they call an overnight success that took 16 years to get to that point, or 17 years.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it was hard work, it was dedication, it was passion, it was working extensively. Because of word of mouth, I didn't advertise. My website came up in the mid-2000s, but before that, I didn't have a website. I didn't advertise, so it was strictly word of mouth. But I can tell you early on, literally within probably 6 weeks of my first communication with Grey Owl, it was laid out at my feet where my life was going with this. And it was up to me to trust it or not. And they showed me the book or books. They showed me TV work. They showed me working on stages and dealing with, hundreds of people at once. And I have to say, it felt comfortable and it felt right. And the one thing to understand about me was, as a child and a teenager and as a young adult, public speaking was something I was phobic of. I just couldn't have done it. But it's funny that when you're ready and when you have something you believe in and love, how easy it is to want to share that with people.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. Being able, especially, I mean, it's beautiful for any of us to connect, but it must be really exciting on the days where you blow open, or at least blow a crack in the window of a non-believer, which is one of the videos you have up I've seen, which made me cry the first time I watched it.
Yeah, and that video out of all of them probably has garnered me more attention worldwide.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what they classify as going viral, but I think it's close to 150,000 views. So that just seems, and from skeptics too. You know, not everybody is a Chris Stillar supporter or lover.
I'm sure.
But I'll take bad publicity too, because it's all publicity.
Yeah, it's true. And like you said yourself, you had time where you didn't know or believe or think about this stuff. So it's all just phases we're going through.
For sure. And the one way that I always sum it up to people, because I have a lot of supporters that get angry when people attack me that way, you know, on the internet or whatever. But it's all relative. We live in a world where, you know, you can't know love without fear. You can't know high without low. So we need the skeptics. They serve their role too, and they're not bad people. You know, and I think, you know, intent-wise, they're probably very good people. But the part that bothers me is that they're cynical. Skeptical means you're open-minded. I find a lot of people are cynics because they're closed. Their mind's made up. They don't know me personally, never sat with me or had an experience with me, but are quick to judge my motives of why I do what I do.
Yes, I know. Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, I just said that's the one thing I can't tolerate or I won't accept from people. Everybody's entitled to their opinions, but when you attack me personally and you don't know me, you don't know why I do what I do, but you paint me with the one brush that you're painting all, you know, fraudulent people with, that I'm not cool with.
Look, it drives me crazy. When I was young, I thought about the concept of mediumship and abilities to know things, and I had some experiences where I knew some things beyond my own five senses. So I started to go to a medium every year for 20 years. And I paid, you know, every year to see a medium. And I always tell everyone, 17 times I wasted my money, which is like the same average as you have for haircuts, or the same average you have if you go for a massage. You know, 17 times you're going to waste your money or not have a very good experience, because that's life. We all have to practice to get where we're going as well. But the 3 times I had really good mediums, like my head was blown open and I realized that spirit can exist around us many, many years after the body has died. So I hope that's not... Sorry.
I was just going to ask you, Elissa, when you think of those 3 times out of the 20, do you feel like your need was stronger or different than the other 7?
No, I think it was more like... I just got connected well on those days. Sometimes some of the things the others said to me may have been relevant, but I was coming at it from a fairly skeptical scientific perspective. So the 3 times that I got irrefutable proof for myself, it's always subjective, but where they connected with items that my dead grandmother had left me, or things that they knew about a dead friend that nobody could have known besides me. When you have that experience, your body reacts as well, like tears flow out of your eyes even though you're not sad, and you just realize that spirit is moving through all of the people, through the medium and through the sitter and through the passed over person. So it's a beautiful thing, and I think more and more humans are going to recognize in the next 50, 100, 200 years that we all have this ability to a greater or lesser degree, and we can tune into it and we can enhance it, hopefully.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's a time where the veil between the worlds is becoming lighter.
For sure, for sure. And I think in some ways, you know, I always say science may never catch up to the truth, but I do think there's more and more things happening in scientific circles where it does show the existence of energy and consciousness past the human body. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, science is starting to have many, many different fields in which it's showing this through medicine and through spiritual things and through psychology. And I think it's pretty hard to deny it. But, you know, the friends that I have who do outwardly deny it, they're the ones that don't want to look. You know, like I have other friends who are neither here nor there, and they'll sit down, they'll watch a video and go, wow, that was cool. And then I have other friends, and like a month after I offer them something to show them, they still haven't watched it. And they're like, I don't want to believe, you know. And that's okay too.
Sure, they have every right. It's free will. I would think their just reason probably is fear.
Yeah, it's
why they don't want
absolutely fear.
to see it.
One of my friends, he's a real skeptical Irish boy, and I keep telling him, you're going to make a great medium one day, Richie. Which annoys the shit out of him, but he also, I think it's people like that, you know, they can be a great medium, because to be a great medium you have to have integrity, which means you have to honor your own feeling, whether everybody agrees with you or not. You have to be able to pass messages without judging the messagee or the messenger. So that's one thing I like about you. I want to get back to you for a minute. Who did you first share it with when you discovered your abilities?
I think technically the first person I shared it with was an older lady friend that I had that is still in my life to this day. And very much, even though my mom's alive and I have a great connection with my mom, this woman had been kind of a friend and a person I could trust, and kind of like a mother figure in her own way with me. And I opened up to her, but I also knew she was open to and interested in different paranormal type stuff. That she had just that same year had given me a couple books to read that I knew that it was kind of safe territory to venture with.
And they say you're never a prophet in your own land, so you might have scared your mum or something.
Oh, and I did. Like the very first time she ever found out, and I said it, she just looked at me, and I told her, I said, I don't understand it, but you have a Scotsman standing behind you with the kilt, the whole thing, and she just looked at me and she says, well, I don't know who it is, but my mom's family's ancestry is from Scotland, but way, way back, nobody that she knew. But she just always said she had some kind of attraction or interest in the Scottish way of life.
I think that...
So she was...
She what, sorry?
Sorry. I was just going to say, so she was surprised with what I said, but not by what it turned out to be for her, you know, with that connection.
Wow. And so how did your friend react when you first started to tell her, your first friend that you told?
She was very excited about it. She always thought there was something about me, she said, but didn't know exactly what it was. And, you know, she would talk to me about it prior to this, and I wasn't interested. Not about mediums, but, you know, just in energy. And one day she had me stand at her window and try to make clouds disappear, and all I did was make fun of her because it was a visualization thing. So she brought that up just last Friday. She says, you know, 18 years in, or 17 plus years in, I'm still amazed when I think back to that day I asked you to make the clouds disappear and you just laughed at me. And she says, now look at your life.
Yes. Yes. So I want to know, tell me about some hard times. Did you lose friends or family, or did you lose respect with anyone that, you know, you cared about when you were first opening up about your own way of seeing?
Well, you know, I think family and friends you don't, you know, if they're real friends, you don't miss them if real friends stuck by you. The ones that, you know, maybe you lost track of or maybe thought you were crazy, that's okay. They weren't really friends. Family, there were a couple people that I noticed that were almost like scared to be around me, I noticed. They were scared for me.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't know what was exactly happening to me. But I gotta say, the people that really mattered to me, maybe didn't always fully understand it, but they knew I was still Chris. And they would support me come hell or high water.
Beautiful. And I suppose over time they've all changed position. I don't suppose there'd be many skeptics left too close to you. You've mowed through them all.
I really don't think so, but there's still a few people that I know in my extended family that probably feel more comfortable when I'm not at the family reunion or at the weekend barbecue or whatever.
Do you think there's...
Because they just don't...
Sorry,
They don't understand what it is I do.
Yeah, I know. They think you can see them in their undies.
Yeah, or read their minds.
Yeah, which we all can. I always think it's funny when I'm at a dinner party and, you know, I know that this friend is screwing that person's husband and, you know, they all think that we don't know. Like when people think that they're inside their own heads and that when our minds aren't outside ourselves, I think that's the funniest concept. But, you know, that's
Truly.
how... Do you think it could be some kind of a conspiracy to keep us away from our true self, in a sense that, do you think that somebody somewhere has a benefit if we only think of ourselves as 5 sense beings in this reality with no abilities beyond those physical characteristics?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm sure there are some people that could benefit without the existence of psychics and mediums and the sixth sense. But we all have it, even those people that don't think they have it. So I can't speak for what their benefits might be or why, but I would think fear-based. It's like anything, you know. If you look at anything, religion or cancer, anything is big business.
Yeah.
So when money comes into it, or people's welfare or well-being, and they can benefit from something, they may be opposed to finding out a new truth about anything or a cure to something because it will infringe on their livelihood.
Yes, I've learned myself over the years to look at anything that's ridiculed in general by society. Anything that is ridiculed, it seems like the fastest way to turn you away from something that, well, often the things that are ridiculed I find are connected. You know, the things that you are supposed to turn away from are the things that are ridiculed. Often there's a lot of spiritual truth in those things.
Sure. And let me tell you, years ago, I would have been one of those people ridiculing.
Yeah.
And I did do that. I had some friends that were into Reiki and meditating, and I used to, not in a mean way, but that doesn't make it any better,
Yeah.
I would make fun of them to their face.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But I thought they were crazy.
Yeah, I massaged for about 15 years before I ever did a Reiki course because I was like, oh, it's pyramid selling scheme. You don't need to pay money to somebody to get your chakras opened up so you can heal. And then finally I met a nice woman who was a Reiki teacher, so I went to learn from her. And like after the 2-day Reiki course, I went to work the next day and 3 out of my 5 massage patients cried that day. And I was like, what the hell has she done to my hands, you know? So it's always good to be skeptical, but it's always good to keep an open mind, I think.
For sure.
So do you do some kind of activism to, but I suppose every time you do a community event, it's activism, isn't it, for the spiritual world?
It is, and I have to tell you, I hope that translates on any of the videos that are on YouTube. I've posted 2 recently, just in the last week, of public events, and I would hope that translates through what the public sees, my love of public speaking, the being the voice of spirit, and the humor. It's not all sad. I mean, most of my events are funny.
Yeah, you are funny, but they're funny as well.
Well, just this past weekend, I had the most recent YouTube video I put up was from an event I just did last month in September here in Canada, and my daughter was home from university, and I just had received the DVD that day, and I said, "Do you want to see your dad in action?" And she rolls her eyes, but she sat down, and some of the comments I made, she just looked at me and she says, "Jesus Christ, Dad, you have no filter. You have no filter for these people."
That's the best thing about you. That's absolutely why I chose you for this interview, because I think you're wonderful the way you are. I think if I was dead, I would seek you out to speak for me, because you're happy to swear, you're happy to make really rude jokes, and I can tell you don't have any judgment of anyone, and that's a beautiful quality.
Yeah, and I thank you for that. I'm sure there's aspects of me that are judgmental. I know there are in my everyday life, and I have to catch myself.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I do this work does not put you on a pedestal or avoid any hardships in life, and it's a learning curve. But I can say that when I am in the role of a medium, I don't know what the difference is, but I'll convey any message to anybody without judgment. I just want them to hear it and hopefully accept it if it's truthful. But there is no judgment with it.
Even the clips that I've seen of you on YouTube, you are quite often having to give some difficult information, and you just don't bat an eyelid. It's wonderful. When you're talking about somebody, you'll say, drinker, and the person will be like, maybe that's me, and then you'll go, no, serious alcoholic every day, and then the person will go, yeah, that was my dad, or whatever. So it's like, you can see that even the person doesn't judge themselves from over that side. You can see that they've come to some peace about the way they were, and you're just passing on the message that they're okay. So that's the most beautiful thing.
Well, thanks. I totally agree with you in that I think once we're on the other side, besides the whole love factor, I think it's truth. I think that embarrassment and the judgmental thing is gone.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very honest and very probably easy for spirit to be brutally honest, even about themselves.
Yes.
And so it makes it easy for me to say too. And at the end of the day, whether the client or the recipient of the message likes what I have to say, that's really secondary to me, immaterial.
Yeah.
My private practice, they're the ones paying my wage.
Yeah.
But I really don't give a shit what they think.
Yeah.
As long as I've done my job for the spirit, then I can sleep well that night.
That's a wonderful thing, because you know that there's something higher about what you're doing, and it's not about making friends or about making people feel better. It's actually just about passing on a message from somebody who has no other means to connect, or no easy means to connect. Why do you think some people are such good mediums and some of us are just all asleep and drowsy or unable to connect? Why do you think you got this job?
Technically, I've always said from day one when I've been asked that in interviews or whatever, because I have a big mouth.
Yeah.
I think, but I think my ability or level of connection with energy and interpretation and understanding probably is higher than average for people. And I think because of my passion for it, and this is going to sound very maybe egotistical, I don't know. I think you have to be a good person to begin with. I think you just have to genuinely care and have some empathy and care about another person, which for the most part I do. But let me tell you, man, I've got a temper too, and people can piss me off quicker than anything, and I'll let them have it. But at the end of the day, I still want them to have healing. I still want them to have some kind of understanding, and I always think, but for the grace of God go I, because I don't know what they're feeling or what their pain is.
I remember seeing a woman once who was suffering a stigmata, where she would lay down and bleed out of her hands on behalf of Jesus. And somebody asked her, "Why you?" And she said, "Because Jesus told me I could not find a more wretched woman." I thought that was great. So that can be your answer in future. But maybe you need to have really lived too, I assume, to be a good medium. You need to understand and have empathy for all sorts of things. So maybe it's not even just this one lifetime, probably many lifetimes of experience.
And I can remember back, and I wrote about it in my book, being probably a child, I couldn't remember the age if I was 7 or 9. It didn't matter. I was under 10. Being in the front yard of my parents' house where I lived, by myself at the time, no friends were with me, and this feeling sweeping over me, which I thought was so strange, but I felt very special, and I felt I was going to do something very special with my life, but I didn't have a clue. I always thought, well, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon. I want to help people. But I was lazy, and I was not studious, and I hated to read back then, let alone write a book now. That surprised me, but back then I was a lazy, fat child, and I did the bare minimum to get by. So,
Thank God. I mean, I'm so grateful that we don't have another surgeon, and instead we have you doing your work. Because,
too now.
Like, who cares about surgery? Who needs surgery when you realize you're eternal? I mean, surgery would be nice, I suppose, if you get hit by a bus and you want to go on and keep feeding your kids and living on. But I think, when we realize we're spirit, like, nothing matters. Or it just takes the pressure off so much aspects of life, so many aspects. Mm. So, did your life improve a lot for the better when you realized, shit, we really don't die when we die? And how did that affect you?
100-fold.
Yeah.
100-fold. It removes a lot of fear.
Yes.
It doesn't remove all fear.
No.
I don't know if you're a mom or not, but when you're a parent and your kids are out there and you can't help feel, especially when you're a medium, you're working with bereaved parents, if not daily,
so
weekly.
Sad. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, my God, I'm so blessed, and they've gone through this hardship.
Yeah.
So, it has helped me a lot to be a better person, without question. I'm not perfect. I'm surely not perfect, but a better person, yes. And it has helped me immensely come to terms with what I can control in life and what I can't, and to have acceptance.
If you want to get that, feel free to get that.
No, that's a client. My wife will let it get on the machine. We'll just wait a minute.
9, 2, 1, 6, 2, 5, 7, 0.
Person's phone number could be on the internet. Okay, we're done with that.
For a good time call. No. So, one thing I'd like to know about that is who are your teachers, or who have you read over the years, or have you studied with anyone, or have you just had any particular inspirations who you want to mention?
Sure. Above all else, as far as practical people go in the everyday life, Rosemary Altea was the one. Her book, Eagle and the Rose, started all this for me, and I gave her credit and thanks in my own book. I've met her 5 times, 6 times at public events. She wouldn't know me from a hole in the head. But that woman, her book, and the circumstances changed my life drastically the week after my grandmother died. And she was the first medium I've ever heard of. And I watched her on TV, and I raced out and bought her book that day and read that book, which I was not a book reader. And I just was captivated by her honesty and who she was as a person based on what I knew from the book and her life story in the book. I would say Rosemary was the first, foremost person. I'm a huge, I have a lot of respect for John Edward. John is no bullshit, off the cuff, say it as it is. And he's very much into educating people. I really admire that about him. So those 2 people really stand out to me. I've had interactions with James Van Praagh and talked to him about some stuff, and I do respect James and his career. He's done a lot to pave the road publicly for mediums in North America. So he too, I would put those 3. As for somebody mentoring me or teaching me, hell no. I couldn't. That's why I work alone, because I couldn't work with people. I hate being told what to do, and I'll learn the hard way. Yeah. I'll learn the hard way. I'll learn my way, and if I F up or screw up, then than I've learned, but I refuse to take somebody else's truth as my own. So even early on when I knew nothing, I needed to read books and I needed to meditate and I needed to find my way through it. But I sure wouldn't go pay somebody money, take a class and tell them that I couldn't drink coffee and I had to eat pineapple. And I'm not shitting you. That's two of the things I heard.
Yeah, right.
And I love my coffee and I love pineapple. So eating pineapple wouldn't have been an issue. But I thought if I'm meant to do this and if Spirit thinks I'm a good channel, they're going to like tolerate when I drink my coffee or if I have the odd beer after work.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
in the history of mediumship, I'm sure people have got messages through in every state. You know, every state of thing.
Sure.
Do you mind if we go back and I just ask you, what was the connection with your grandma? Was she a sort of a spirit guide while you were alive and maybe now as well?
My grandmother was my dad's mom that I'm talking about. Her name was Bessie. And she just was, for me, an incredible light, which I didn't even realize. I loved her beyond words. I was the oldest grandchild on either side of the family. There was no question that there was a special light on me in her eyes. I don't know, she was so proud of me no matter what I did or didn't do. She was a great supporter. I just loved her. And her death really, really, really stung me. It just was horrible. But I also say it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because of her dying when she did. I honestly believe she opened the door for me to do this because when she was alive, very strong Christian woman, very strong, church twice a week and donated and did things for the church. So if she knew that I had been a medium, my God, she would have had an exorcism performed on me.
Yeah.
But I know in death, I think it's total irony that her death and her continued existence was what opened the door for me. I know she's proud of me.
Beautiful. Did you get messages from her in the short time after her death or ever?
You know, I suck at getting family messages.
No, you're not the only one. Many mediums have told me that.
I can feel them periodically when they're around. I know they're okay. And the reason I know they're okay because 17 and a half years of connecting with, I couldn't tell you how many thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I've never had one of their family members not okay.
Yeah.
So law of averages tells me mine are too.
Yeah.
And that they go. And we would get signs and things happening around the house that I knew that it was certain people. But to sit and have a conversation with them like I would a client's loved ones, not going to happen.
Yeah, isn't that strange? I find that really interesting, but I think maybe that there's too much connection or too much wanting or too much familiarity that maybe you might not know what's projection and what's picking up or something like that when it's your own relatives.
You're absolutely right. And if it was real easy for a medium to connect with their own family, chances are they wouldn't be working for other people.
Yeah, I was just speaking to a psychic woman the other day, and she said, me and my dad had a special code that he would give me when he died, and he's been dead 4 years now, and I've been to 8 mediums, and none of them have got it. And I was thinking to myself, well, you don't sound to me like you've got very much faith that your dad is there and that he's all right if you're like still trying to test every medium that you go to. It's like, but when you're sort of wanting proof like that, I think the universe goes, piss off, we'll come round to you in 300 lifetimes when you've given up your doubt or something.
For sure. And one thing I've learned is that just because people have done some kind of a code before their death and say, I'll come back and say this or show you that, it don't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, there's a change of perspective in that. I had one client that I wrote about in my book who her son was murdered. And she had 2 or 3 readings with me over the course of several years, but within her second reading, I had to give her a message that her son Wes was coming through, telling me she was dying. And it was so hard for me to do.
Wow.
But, you know, it turned out that she went and she had ALS, and she lasted another couple of years. And I talk about she wanted to know when she would die, that first reading that she was told she was going to die, and she took great comfort in it. And her son had predicted the month, and she died 2 years later in that month.
Wow.
And so there's more and more of a story with it. But at the very last reading I had with her was a week before she died. And I went to her house. She wanted a special favor from me, and so I went up, and she was bedridden, and she was having her feeding tube removed, and she was going to take matters into her own hands. And it was just amazing. But I said to her, Debbie, if you should ever come back to me through one of your loved ones that I don't know, or, I want a sign, I want a code that I know it's you, because you're very inspirational. And she could barely talk, and she kind of mumbled, what would you want? And I just stuck out my little finger, and I said, give me the finger, and I'll know it's you. And I need to say that about a year after her death, her brother-in-law, I didn't know who he was, her ex-brother-in-law came to me as a client, and Debbie came through. I did not know it was her.
Oh my
I didn't know
God.
she was the lady, and she sure as hell didn't give me the finger. But that taught me a lot, saying to me that they know what they need to project, and just because I've asked her to do something doesn't mean they will.
Yes. So sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can hear them, sometimes you can feel them, but it's like it's intangible, isn't it? Like sometimes you say you can see a Scottish man standing there, but other times it's like a garbled feeling of a conversational message, or...
For sure. And you're right, clairvoyance, the clairaudience, or the clairsentience, it's all, it all comes, good readings are when you get all three strong.
Yeah.
But if I had to, it's like if you ask somebody, what sense would you give up if you had to? Your eyesight, your hearing, your taste, your touch, whatever. I wouldn't want to give up any of my clairaudience ones, or clairvoyance, or clairsentience. But I think the one that I trust the most is the clear feeling, because it's pretty hard to screw up an emotion or, a person's intent when they're bringing it across.
Oh, that makes me feel better, because I think I'm the best at feeling, and I'm not particularly visual, and I'm not particularly audible, whatever. But tomorrow night, actually, a group of us here are going to a house which they used to burn witches in and hang witches in the 1500s. Yeah. Oh, me too. Well, it's supposedly quite a haunted house. The woman who bought the house hasn't lived there for 2 years, because all the people who've lived there have said horrible things have flown around, and lots of interesting good and bad vibes from spirits. So a group of us are going there, and hopefully we'll make so many jokes that no spirit will make itself seen. But I don't want to see anything. But I am quite aware of my ability to feel things. But I mean, because you can't see it, it's a different plane altogether. But
For sure.
I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I hope you have a good experience.
Well, so do I. I've seen photographs people have taken of their leg or under their arm where they've come away from the place with red marks on their body that they say weren't there before. And I was saying, are they painful? And they say, no, there was no pain in getting it. It's just that when I came out of there, I noticed I have this scratch on my leg or on my side. So, I'm a bit skeptical about that kind of stuff.
I can tell you that I've had that happen to me over the years a lot, where I'll wake up with scratches across my chest, 3 or 4 like fingernail marks.
That's
And
exactly.
if you can look at my fingers, you'll see I have no fingernails at all. And you would think if somebody clutched in the middle of the night, it would have woke you up to leave welts. It would happen enough that even my wife, she'd say, when I got out of bed, she'd say, what happened on your back? And there was no explanation for it, because it wasn't there when I went to bed.
So you didn't feel any pain, but you had some kind of marking. That's very interesting. Well,
Yeah, and more than once.
Are you scared of anything in the spiritual realms? I mean, really scared.
Dead people don't scare me, but my neighbors and so-called friends, they could stab me in the back.
Yes. Look, that's really wonderful, Chris. I'm really so honored to meet you and so thankful that you gave me this time.
Well, thank you for the interview, and it was nice talking to you, Elissa.
You too. There's, I'd just like to, I just thought I'd finish it like that because I want to tell you a little story, but I probably won't want to tell it on camera. But
Okay.
I had a massage patient for years who her boyfriend had died 2 years earlier, and it wasn't getting easier, and it was the anniversary of his death, and she was so depressed when I went to give her this massage, and she was just saying, you know, nothing's getting better, and quite often when I go to her place, the lights would flicker off and on, and she would say, look, that's him, he knows we're talking about him, and I always thought, yeah, maybe that's him, because I've always known spirit can do those things, but I also would think, oh, I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure if it's him. It's probably just an old building, you know. But this day I felt so sorry for her that when I left, I was like, oh, I've got to buy her some flowers, you know. I've never bought flowers for a massage patient ever. And the next day on my way to work, I went past this store and they had horrible bunches of orange roses and yellow roses, both of which I hate roses and I hate orange and I hate yellow. And I bought orange, which is the least favorite color of mine. I look like a heroin addict if I wear orange. So I took these roses and I put them on her doorstep and I just wrote on the card, you are loved, and I left them, and I didn't say it was from me, but I just thought she'll know it's from me. And about 3 weeks later she called me and she goes, oh my God, Elissa, did you leave roses at my house? And I was like, yeah, about, you know, weeks ago. And she goes, oh fuck, I thought Gus always bought me orange roses and he always wrote, you are loved. And that's all he would write on the card. And I was like, whoa, you know, like, and I become aware. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I truly believe he was working through you and you didn't even know it.
I know. He was, I'm sure. And then I went to work where I massaged, and my girlfriend who worked at the gym next door, she came up to me and bought me a big bunch of flowers, like all different wildflowers, like my ideal bunch of flowers for me. And I said, why are you bringing me flowers? And she said, I don't know. I was just on my work today and I got this strong urge to give you flowers. So I felt like Spirit was just connecting all of us up, and it was saying, if you listen, we can all work together and we can, you know, what a world we could make if we would all listen to those messages that we get and act on them and see what happens.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's amazing, and you don't even always know it's Spirit.
Yeah, you don't have any idea. I mean, you just think it's a weird idea. But the more we can act on those ideas, it's kind of like being in the rhythm of nature or love or God or whatever you call the spirit. Yeah. So it's been an honor. It's really been beautiful to meet you, Chris, and I appreciate it so much. Maybe one day if I ever come to Canada, I'm going to come and see you in person.
Well, it would be nice to see you in person, Elissa.
Yeah, yeah. And if we get this this station up and running and we get a real TV show, maybe we can have you on there sometime too. But you know,
anytime.
Yeah? Awesome. That's really good to hear, because I just love your work. I find you hilarious. Before we finish up, I'd like you to just tell the listeners and the viewers, where can they go to find your books, to if they wanted to book an appointment with you, or if they want to see your videos, give us your website and your YouTube and any details you'd like.
Oh, okay. So people can find my website at spiritualmedium.ca. They can follow me on Facebook at Medium Chris Stillar. That's probably the best one. I mean, my website needs updated and that, but the Facebook I keep constantly updated with photos, events, videos. My YouTube channel has gained a lot of popularity because of the number of videos, both private from my TV show Seeking Spirit, but also during my public events. So it gives people that are on the fence or unsure just their own comfort level of watching it from their own office or house and coming to their own conclusions. So YouTube's a great one if you just type in my name. My book is available online through any bookstore. It's called Pennies from Heaven. And I'm very proud of that book. Above all else, I'm very proud of that book and the feedback and the healing that people have received. You know, my one client today just said her friend got her copy of the book, my book, 2 days ago from her, And she said, I started reading it and I couldn't put it down and I had to stay up till 2 in the morning to finish it. So I thought, what a wonderful compliment.
How long ago did the book come out? Because
the book's been out 2.5 years, a little over 2 years now. 2011.
The name is ringing a bell, but I'm sure I haven't read it that recently, so I must have heard of it.
Little shameless plug.
Go for it, my friend. Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell for me to look at, so maybe I'll have to read it. I can't wait. I have been checking out all your videos on YouTube because I just love the way you work and the way you are with people, and I think that also for the skeptics out there, they can see you being monitored. I think it's Donna Moncrief. She's doing some scientific testing while you're practicing, which is also really impressive because, you know, for you to still be able to relax enough when you have machines and cameras on you and people judging you, that's all the more difficult. So I'm really impressed by, you know, your ability to just tune in to spirit wherever and whenever. It's great.
Thank you. You're so kind.
No, I'm not. I'm not. You're just as kind, and I can be a bastard too sometimes. Don't worry.
That's why I like you.
You got to be whole. Yeah, absolutely. If I ever die, I'm coming to you to pass on all the messages to my friends and family because I know you won't censor yourself on the swear words.
Thanks, Elissa.
No
Don't
worries.
die anytime soon.
I'll try not to. But like, death is really life, isn't it? In another way, you know, it's going back to real life. So yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. It's been lovely, and we'll talk again sometime soon, I hope.
For sure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Chad, we're here with Medium 7 Research, and you've just participated in a reading with Chris Stillar. How are you doing? Okay, great. So first I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions about how you felt prior to the reading, and I have a number of questions for you, and if you could just be as candid as possible, okay? So again, you participated in Medium 7 Research, and this was an experiment for non-believers, but specifically, could you tell us a little bit about what your perspective on this mediumship was prior to coming here today for this experiment?
Straightforward, I thought it was bullshit.
Okay. And what exactly does bullshit mean? just so I make sure I understand what you mean by that.
Didn't believe in it at all. Just thought it was lies and a money scam.
Okay.
Whatever, right?
Okay. So, and also just again for the public's perspective, what kinds of things did you think Chris might do then today that would have been BS? What kinds of things would he tell you that you?
I really don't know. I didn't really put that much thought into it, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions about your reading. I mean, just the overall impression. What was the overall impression you had during or after your reading?
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
I don't know any other words.
Okay.
I'm still speechless from it, so.
Yeah, and
I'm in shock still.
Okay, and I guess just to help people put this in context for people who would be viewing this is, of course, your reading was only just about an hour ago, so you're still digesting some information. I think I also got a little bit ahead of myself, and I just wanted to clarify something. Did you know me before the research?
Absolutely not.
No. And did you know Chris?
Absolutely.
Before the research? And it was a totally independent person who asked you to do this? Okay, and so we've never spoken before, and did Chris have any information about you beforehand?
No.
No, because in fact I didn't know your name until today, so just to set that context, okay? So specifically, I'm going to go over a couple of things that I noted occurred in the reading, and just be honest about your perceptions and your thinking, and perhaps, again, clarify for us, because there was no feedback during your, how you experience some of these things. So first of all, I think one of the key things that Chris picked up initially was that you there was a male found deceased, and it felt to him like it was in a basement. Could you elaborate a bit on that for us?
The basement, I'm not quite sure where that came into frame.
Okay.
I have an idea, but I can't totally put my finger on it.
Okay.
And he was found dead on the side of the road, so.
Okay, someone was found dead on the side of the road that you knew?
Yes.
Okay. And could you explain to us who that is, or? Because Chris, by the way, did say it was a male. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
He was my best friend / brother.
Okay. And when did that happen?
About a month, 4 or 5 weeks ago.
4 or 5 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, prior to coming here, did you have any expectation that your friend could show up? Okay.
None whatsoever.
Tell us a little bit, okay, about what kinds of things Chris shared that made you realize that this was actually your friend that just recently passed.
Almost everything he touched on.
Okay, could you elaborate for us?
I guess the biggest one, I guess you guys already know, is the pickles thing.
Okay.
That's what sent me over the edge, because, like I've already said, he'd eat like 1,000 of them a day. Like, it was just pickles with him. Like, he wanted to go to every Pickle Barrel restaurant. Like, he loved pickles. His favorite hockey team is Detroit Red Wings. We had the same shirts on in a picture. There's just everything he touched on.
And if I could ask you a little bit about the red, it was interesting. I recall during the reading, that one, you weren't relating to it at all, but I remember Chris was quite persistent with that. But again, you stepped away, and and then what happened? Did you reflect on it, or it just came to you?
I guess the first thing, when people say red, your first thought automatic to anyone is mostly blood and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So when you step back and get rid of that thought, then it just hit me right away.
Okay. I'd also like to touch on the phrase that was used, donkey dick.
Can I say this on camera?
We could potentially edit things out. Okay. Say as much as you can, yeah.
There's no other way to be other than blunt about it.
Get that on camera. Yeah. So basically, and how is it just something that you felt it? Why would he bring that forward?
I couldn't tell you. Okay,
but for you, that kind of that kind of specificity, the fact that the medium was able to share that specific concept. Is
just specific detail for him to let Chris know to let me know. Like, yeah. I guess, right? Like specific detail.
Are you shocked about?
Beyond shocked.
Beyond shocked that because you never before this point thought that someone could provide that level of detail to make you believe that.
Never.
Okay. Was there anything else about the your friend coming that meant something to you? So obviously, we call this in the research just that's validation. That's validation that there is someone on the other side. However, was there anything that you will take away from this, and perhaps it will benefit your well-being, perhaps as you move forward? Is there anything from that communication from your friend, if you could elaborate?
It's an eye-opener.
Okay.
But a calming eye-opener.
Okay.
To this day, I haven't had any kind of, I don't know what I'm looking for.
Okay. It's okay.
Closure.
Okay.
And after today is my closure day to me. Like, I'm completely calm and, yeah. Other than shocked and stunned to what I just, went through, but.
So you feel that today, just what was shared, that brings closure. Closure in what way? That I just don't want to make any assumptions of what I'm thinking about closure.
Closure that he's okay.
That he's okay.
He's up there.
He seems to be having a good time.
That's him. There was not a minute of the day he did not have a smile on his face, or cursing, or swearing, or having a beer, or anything. So that was his personality. The way he was describing his personality was beyond, like,
Okay.
you couldn't just guess someone's personality the way he was describing.
You couldn't Google that either. So
No,
even if
there's
he
no
had information, you couldn't
specific
Google. Yeah, we
words,
don't.
like,
Yeah,
you just
okay.
use donkey dick, stuff like that. Like it. Yeah, you just couldn't.
And he was a joker, the way he was. Yeah,
he was a total
because you
joker.
could see that coming through in the reading.
You probably still smell shaving cream in my shoes from the guy. Like, he was a jokester.
Okay. Now, there were some things. I want to go through some of the things that, again, and I believe that it was him coming through for most of the reading, but again, we'd have to analyze it more closely. Chris talked about an impact that was really close, could have ended the life. Was there something, was there an impact that was really close that could have ended this life for you?
Yeah, the only one that came to my mind was just, I don't know, about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We were going down the highway at work in our work truck, and the tire blew off, literally the rim, the tire, everything in the middle of the highway. And we were just lucky that the tire didn't go off another way, and we didn't lose control or flip the truck, and like we had a load of wood and everything else on.
Okay.
That could have been a heck of a lot worse, and literally was like it was freaky. Like, it just, everything happened the right way not to, you know, die.
Okay. Now, so you could relate to it. Now, again, I can't recall who necessarily said this or gave the information to Chris. How does getting that information, what does that mean to you when you get information like that?
I wish I had the answer for you right now.
In other words, does that have more validation for you?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because not a lot of us, I mean, I haven't had any close life calls. I'm in my 40s and I haven't had any, so that doesn't relate to me. And so it's not necessarily a generalized comment. Okay. There was another one that I think that came up with you that I'm interested and curious about as well. Carrying the casket. It didn't come up more. It came up more than once. Did you carry the casket for your friend?
No.
Okay. So the carrying the casket didn't relate. Yeah, and it's funny. It came up a couple times, but that was one that you couldn't relate to.
No.
Okay.
One I can't.
And I guess when we do the cross interview with Chris, it'll be interesting to get a bit more clarification, because I noticed in some of the readings, some questions about your friend came up. He was here with some of the other readings. He seems to have a strong spirit, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Another issue about the premonition that was given to you in relation to, now, again, because you've talked about getting so much validation, and I could feel it and I could see it coming through in your reading. You got a premonition about you're going to get a house. Like, you know what? I was kind of jealous, I have to be honest with you. I want a medium to tell me that. But anyway, can you elaborate on that? In other words, tell us, where are you in relation to a house? We don't know. Do you have an apartment? Do you already have a house? Like, what did that mean for you?
Actually, it was very shocking, because in the past, say, few weeks, me and my other half have been talking about buying a house and have connections into getting a house and financed and all that kind of stuff. And I always just, we've been talking about it, and I have the attitude, you know, forget it. Like, it's not going to happen. Just stop fucking talking about it, you know, type thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I just sort of brush it off. But that's when we've been talking about it a lot lately.
Okay.
So.
And so what was interesting, and I recall this in your reading, was that and again, I don't know if this was your friend who was speaking, but I just know Chris did share this, is that he said, stop worrying and analyzing about how you're going to get the house. We're telling you you're going to get the house, which, do you see that as some guidance for you? In other words, some hope or a way of behaving in your future?
I do now. I don't know how, but I do now.
Okay. So do you feel that information has given you some hope?
Yes.
Okay.
Complete hope.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that you else that you would like to ask?